Hi, and welcome to Peter's 6 Cents channel. This video is going to be how to load and unload the M1 Garand rifle, how to load an M-block clip, and how to field strip it, basically. I'm not going to go further than that. I'm going to take it to the point that I think you should be able to do. I already tried this video once, and basically it turned out like crap because I can't see what's on the viewfinder and see what I'm doing at the same time. So I hope this one works out this time. In order to load an M1 Garand, first step is to lock the bolt open. This is an M-block clip. In order to load it, figure out the best angle for you guys. Just a second. I think this is going to be the best angle to see this from. The clip goes into the top of the gun. Your hand goes along the side right here and holds this lever back. If you don't do that, you can catch your thumb when it lets loose. Okay, and when it happens really fast, it hurts. So, you push them in, and that's exactly how you load it. Okay, that doesn't happen every time, so I'm going to unload this quickly and show you what usually happens. Usually, this gun on the bolt will stick back a little bit. Most M1 Garands are like this, so let's do it again. Hope it does it. Okay, there we go. This is how it happens most of the time. I'm gonna switch sides again, because now this is gonna be a better angle, and that happens too. Okay, that's why you need to be careful of that. Honestly, guys, this thing locks back like that most of the fucking time. I'm not sure what's going on today. This video is going to be even worse. Bear with me one second. Okay. Turn the camera off to save some time, hopefully. When it does get stuck like this, you hit it like that and it'll close. Like 99.9% of the time when you load an M1 Garand, you're going to have to do that. Okay? It's not very common that it just closes on you, but that is why it catches people off guard. And people get bitten by the Garand thumb and all that bullshit. Anyway, to unload the gun, you're going to pull it back, you're going to catch the round, and then you're going to depress a button on the left side of the gun that kicks that out. So that button right there. I wasn't looking at the viewfinder, so just in case it wasn't clear, that button. That's all there is to loading and unloading the Garand. Now we're going to cover loading the M-block clip. This is easier than it would seem. You have your clip, and you take 5 or 6 rounds and just start stacking them in, basically. Sorry. And once it gets to like 5, you're gonna have to like start pushing them from the top like a magazine. Make sure they're all in there and lined up right. As you click more and more rounds in, it'll be more and more like feeding a magazine from the top. These are your feed lips. And the last one locks it all in place. That's all there is to that. It's pretty simple. I actually ran across someone the other day who didn't know how to do either of these things. That's why this video is happening. Anyway, so field strip. Give me 1 second. Okay, field strip. Last time when I did this, I did it freehand over there, and it really sucked. So, step 1, make sure your gun is empty. Notice it's locked back. Once you've done that, you close it, and on an M1 Garand, you can close it by depressing this and letting the bolt go. And the real correct way would be like loading it like that. That way you don't get bit. Okay, next, if you're going to turn the rifle upside down the way the Army taught people to do this in World War II, this rear sight needs to be all the way down. This knob controls the elevation of the sight. Make sure it's turned all the way forward. If you don't do that, you can damage the rear sight. At this point, if you can do this by hand, do it by hand, but you may need a tool like a rod from a cleaning kit to put in here and use to pull this. Mine, I can just pull open, so that's what I'm going to do. Then this whole assembly lifts out. You never need to take this apart, pretty much. In the future, I may do a video on how to take this apart or how to completely disassemble the rifle. That's not what this video is. This is like field maintenance. This is as far as you need to go on that. And when you take it apart, I would clean off in there as much as you can from the outside, but I wouldn't take anything apart. The main reason is you're going to need punches and maybe even like a hammer to get, you know, these pins out, and then putting it all back together is not the easiest thing in the world in field. On a bench with a full set of tools, it's not that hard, but field conditions it's a little difficult. Next, your stock will lift straight up and out, just like that. This is as far apart as this ever gets taken apart. You can take out the tools and cleaning kit and the butt plate, but no need to do that right now. Okay. Set that aside. Next is this bar. This is the magazine spring, recoil spring, and the bar that holds it all in. What you have to do is pull back, up, and out. And it's done. Okay. Now, in order to take this out, this is the charging handle piston assembly. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can even see that. This notch back here is the key to that. You have to pull it back to that notch and lift up and out. So, like that way. And I'm going to try to do that on camera. And that notch lines up with the back of the charging handle. Up and forward. We'll get to that in a second. Now you have to go forward because at the point that it disengages, this little thing here is actually caught under this. So you have to clear that, then come up and back forward, and then lift the whole piston out. That's your gas piston charging handle. At this point, when you take the bolt out, the bolt goes forward, up, the bolt goes forward, up, and out. There's a little groove there, it kind of catches on, but that's all there is to that. Okay, now, if you wanted to, you could probably stop about here. I'm going to take it one step further because there is one more area that you should clean. Once you're at this point, you could completely clean most of the rifle. And in order to do this, you're going to need a tool. There is one in the buttstock that's purpose built for this, but any flathead will do. It's up here on the front of the gun. This little thing right there, get you a better view. That little cross looking thing there, that's a bolt that screws out. It's actually a gas plug, that's what it's called. Comes out. You need this really just to break it loose, but it makes it easier to turn too, so I generally use it. That's your gas plug. And now you have this thing, which I don't even know the name for this, doesn't really matter. It's a screwy bit that screws on the end. Very technical. That screws off. That comes off. And in case that wasn't clear, there's little grooves that this thing rides on that keeps it from rotating. It just slides right out. Okay. And you can also take your wood off at that point too. In order to take that piece of wood off and that retaining band off, there's a pin right there. That comes out and then the whole thing slides off. And in order to get this back on, this little metal retaining band clicks into place on a groove cut in the receiver on either side. It sort of holds it like this and just kind of clicks into that groove. So I'm not going to take that apart because there's no reason to, but if for some reason you did, that's how you get it back on. At this point, the gun is field stripped more or less. All of this crap is the guts of your magazine, essentially. There's no real reason to take that apart. If you wanted to, there's a pin there that basically takes all of this out. This little metal piece is just kind of held in there. It just pulls out once you pull all the rest of the guts out of it. If you wanted to take this out, there is a sideways pin that's holding that through. It's a long ass pin. That would be completely disassembling the gun. And you can take your rear sight apart too. We're not going to do that here either. One thing of note, this gun has a chromed gas port. They chromed that whole area, and they started doing that in like 46, 45-ish. So if you see that on your gun, it's not a World War II barrel. Collectors care about that. Personally, I like seeing the chrome because it's better. Basically, it decreases erosion on the gas port. So that's a feature to look for. If you want a shooter, it's a good thing. If you want a collector, it's a bad thing. And that is pretty much the M1 Garand. I mentioned that there is some place on that front side you need to clean. The inside of this tube is like a piston tube on an AK. You need to clean that. And this plug that's in the end of it, mine is grody right now, as you can see. It needs to be cleaned as well. But that's pretty much a complete field strip on the M1 Garand. And in the last video that I tried doing this, I didn't show you how to put it back together. And I realized that may be a mistake. So we're going to do that now too. Quickly. The wood goes back on, locks back in. This goes back on. This goes back on and turns. I think it's this way. Yeah, there we go. And it goes down. I'll show you. Okay, it won't turn anymore. So the last position before it won't turn anymore, then your plug goes back in. And you want this tighter than finger tight, like you're gonna need a tool. There you go. Next step, your bolt. On the bolt, there's a tiny notch right down in there that this little catch goes through. It's the only place you can really get hung up. So you make sure you're clearing that. There you go. You get in the groove, and when it'll move back and forth like that, it's in. Now the gun goes back upside down. The gas piston, you line up like that and push forward a little bit, and now you're in. But you have to lock this rear tab back in. So get it up like that. And this is kind of a finicky part. But you drop it back in that groove and make sure that the bolt lug lands in the hole on the charging handle. At that point, it can go forward. Oh, but you need to lift up your magazine follower here. This thing needs to come out of the way in order to go forward. I always forget about that. It's like the only gun in the world that has one of those. This spring back in the hole, and the correct position for this thing is the elbow side down, just in case you ever tried to get confused on it. Every time I go to do this, I'm like, okay, which way? I have to look at it and figure it out, basically. The stock front part goes in, swings down, and you got this thing, have it open, goes down, and then basically you hit this and it snaps it back together. That is the complete field strip of the M1 Garand and reassembly. Like I said, in a field strip there's stuff that you don't need to take apart, like your rear sight. There's no reason to touch that. If you want a full disassembly video, there's some on YouTube. I may do one in the future, but this is kind of a quick and dirty M1 Garand operator's guide. So I'll see you guys later. Be sure to thumbs up the video and subscribe and do all the rest of that crap.